خیابانها را رها نکنید. قلب و روحم با شماست و می‌دانم که به زودی در کنار شما خواهم بود.
Meet Reza Pahlavi, the exiled heir of Iran's former Shah, claiming the title of Crown Prince and launching a fresh bid to bring down the Islamic Republic, with open support from Israel, Washington, and Western powers. Pahlavi has launched an online campaign against the Iranian government, claiming protesters inside Iran are responding to his calls for revolt. Thousands of miles away from Tehran, the Shah's son nonetheless presents himself as the potential ruler of a so-called free Iran. On the ground, some Iranians are indeed paying heed to his calls. In recent days, chants of Pahlavi Will Return have been heard, with footage showing protesters in Tehran dancing and cheering in his support. But whether that is enough to bring down the Islamic Republic, led by Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, remains deeply uncertain. Reza has openly backed the protests and urged Iranian security forces to stand with the people. He has now appealed to protesters not to leave the streets and said he would soon be by their side.
خیابانها را رها نکنید. قلب و روحم با شماست و می‌دانم که به زودی در کنار شما خواهم بود.
On January 8th, Pahlavi urged protesters to take to the streets, and Iranians responded. By around 8 p.m. on January 9th, massive crowds flooded cities across Iran in one of the largest displays of defiance in years. However, the extent of Pahlavi's role and whether his appeal directly triggered the protests remains unclear. In a video message, Pahlavi thanked protesters.
My heartfelt congratulations to every single one of you who, on Thursday night, took to the streets and reclaimed them across the entire nation. I am immensely proud of each and every one of you.
I call upon the field commanders to make every effort to ensure that the mobilized crowds can connect with each other so that the total number of people becomes even larger. I know that you will never abandon the streets. Be absolutely certain that victory will be yours.
Pahlavi now claims that the opposition is ready for power with a 100-day transition plan, promising democracy, order, and an end to the Ayatollah era. But who actually is Pahlavi? Eldest son of Iran's last Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. He was born in Tehran in 1960 into a royal dynasty that once ruled Persia with an iron grip. In 1967, he was formally named Crown Prince of Iran, but history was about to change. In 1978, at just 17 years old, he was forced to flee his homeland as revolution swept the monarchy away. Exile took him to the United States. He trained as a fighter jet pilot at Reese Air Force Base in Texas. After military training, he pursued higher education in America, earning a degree in political science from the University of Southern California. In 1980, after his father's death, he declared himself Shah of Iran in exile. Since then, he has lived mainly in the Washington, D.C. area, a royal without a throne, still claiming the crown of a nation he lost as a teenager. Pahlavi's fresh push for regime change comes as the death toll climbs to 116 in Iran violence and protests, as per the Associated Press. Anti-Ayatollah Khamenei protests have gripped Iran for 13 days now. Protests stemming from dire economic conditions have been reported in at least 222 locations in Iran, including the capital and the Shia clerical bastion of Qom. Meanwhile, in Italy's Milan, hundreds of pro-Shah protesters gathered outside the Iranian consulate in Milan to show support for the ongoing uprisings in Iran and call for the return of the monarchy. Demonstrators were seen waving pre-1979 Iranian flags, holding portraits of Reza Pahlavi, and chanting, "Long live the Shah," and "Pahlavi will return."
The doors that are always closed goes to them, but especially to that people, to your mothers, your fathers, your brothers and sisters who live there. Their freedom must be restored.
The Islamic veil, which some women, even those on the left here in our country, are telling us is a symbol of integration. The Islamic veil is a symbol of submission.
For a second straight week, Iran's streets are burning. Newly surfaced footage shows rioters torching vehicles, hurling petrol bombs, and clashing with security forces across multiple cities. Authorities say the unrest is being driven by organized sabotage, not protest. And now, foreign pressure is colliding with domestic fury. Newly circulated footage shows scenes of chaos across Iran. Protesters are seen setting fire to mopeds and vehicles, smashing public infrastructure, and battling security forces. The videos, filmed in multiple cities, could not be independently verified, but the images are stark. What began as demonstrations has, in parts, morphed into full-scale rioting. Iranian officials say unrest has been reported in several major cities, with attacks targeting streets, buildings, and public property. Authorities describe coordinated vandalism rather than spontaneous protest. As tensions stretch into a second week, many warn the threat is no longer isolated, it is nationwide. State media reports a major security operation is underway. According to Tasnim news agency, more than 200 alleged terrorist organizers have been detained. Authorities claim large caches of weapons were seized, firearms, ammunition, grenades, and Molotov cocktails. Officials say these arrests are already reducing the intensity of the unrest. As Iran moves to reassert control, a message from Washington lands with force. The U.S. president writes that Iran is looking at freedom perhaps never before, adding that America stands ready to help. No details, no conditions, but the timing is unmistakable, coming amid days of fire, arrests, and bloodshed. Just a day earlier, Iran's supreme leader broke his silence. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei accused the U.S. president of arrogance and bloodshed, claiming his hands are stained with Iranian blood. He warned that history shows rulers are often overthrown at the height of their power, framing the unrest as foreign-driven chaos, not a domestic revolt. Iran's leadership insists the unrest is being manipulated from abroad. Washington signals moral support without spelling out action. And on the streets, the violence continues, even as security forces tighten their grip. The question now is whether this confrontation burns out or explodes further.
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has reportedly ordered the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps onto its highest state of alert as nationwide protests entered their 14th day. Senior Iranian officials told The Telegraph the level of readiness now exceeds that seen during last year's conflict with Israel. According to officials, Khamenei has placed his trust squarely in the IRGC, known as the Sepah, rather than the regular army or police. They say he believes the risk of defections within the guards is almost non-existent, unlike other security forces that have fractured during past unrest. One official described the moment bluntly. Khamenei has placed his fate in the hands of the IRGC. The guards are not just a military force, they are deeply embedded in Iran's economy, intelligence apparatus, and political system, making them the regime's most loyal pillar. Iranian officials also confirmed that underground missile cities have been activated. These fortified weapons complexes are designed to deter or respond to foreign threats, signaling that Tehran is preparing for both internal instability and external escalation at the same time. Officials dismissed reports that Khamenei might flee Iran if the situation worsens. One senior source said the supreme leader would not leave Tehran even if B-52s were flying overhead, underscoring the message that retreat is not being considered. A day earlier, Khamenei addressed the nation in a rare and unusually personal speech. He accused U.S. President Donald Trump of arrogance and bloodshed, claiming his hands were stained with the blood of more than 1,000 Iranians. He warned that history shows rulers are often overthrown at the height of their power. Khamenei also turned his fire inward, accusing protesters of destroying their own cities to please the president of another country. He framed the unrest as foreign-driven chaos, alleging that vandals were acting in service of U.S. interests, not Iran's people.
Last night in Tehran and a few other places, people came and did damage to their own buildings, ruining their own streets, in order to make the president of another country happy. Because he said that he would come to their aid, he should pay attention to the state of his own country instead. His hands are stained with the blood of more than 1,000 Iranians who were killed in the 12-day war, Israel-Iran conflict in 2025. His hand is stained with the blood of Iranians. Then he says, I'm a supporter of the Iranian people. And people who are not thinking and have no sense listen to him and believe him. Setting fire to bins, to please him.